How many times the word mountain appears in the Bible? More than 500 times. So many times, mountain. Look, Noah, Abraham, Moses, all covenants on mountain. Remember, Moses saw the burning bush on the mountain. Moses was given the 10 Commandments on the top of Mount Sinai. Abraham offered his son Isaac on Mount Moriah, or now called Mount Zion. Jesus on Calvary, on Mount Calvary, right? It's all mountain. Jerusalem, the holy city of Jerusalem on top of the mountain. It's all mountain. More than 500 times. There's one good thing, one piece of information that was given yesterday at 10 o'clock Mass. Why Peter, John, and James were brought by Jesus to Mount Tabor for the Transfiguration. Why did Jesus have to do that? Why the Transfiguration? Remember, we are in Lent. We are preparing, the church is preparing us for the passion and death of our Lord Jesus Christ, which is coming the first week of April, right? So another 4 weeks and it will be Holy Week. So one of the readings, and last Sunday's Gospel is about the Transfiguration. You can see on your sheet the Bible, I forgot the name I called, Bible study class, notes. So last Sunday, Mark chapter 9 is about the Transfiguration. The question was, why did Jesus have to do that? And why those 3? Why not the other 9? Well, Peter is the prime apostle. He's the leader of the apostles, so he definitely should be there. But why John and James? Because John and James, remember, during this week, there's this request from the mother Salome, who is the sister of the Blessed Mother. One should sit on either side, right? So Jesus invited also the other 2. So all the 3 of them were witnesses, and they were close to him. Remember, they were Jesus' first cousins, because the mother of John and James was Salome, and the mother of Jesus was the Blessed Mother, and they were sisters. So they were first cousins. See the relationship. So back to the question, why would Jesus be transfigured in front of the 3? What is the purpose of that? And the purpose is quite simple. The Transfiguration what happened to Jesus? This is a foretaste of heaven, actually. Foretaste of heaven. And Jesus' glory. This is in Mark chapter 9. Now, remember that Transfiguration took place shortly before the passion and death of our Lord Jesus. In fact, Jesus had, had prophesied about his coming passion and death. He knew he was going through that. And he was saying to the apostles, it is coming. We need to go to Jerusalem because the Son of Man will be handed over. Will be handed over to man and will be condemned to death. So what Jesus was doing here was, look, this is the glory of God. This is heaven. Just stand firm and be strong because very bad things will happen to me in effect, just what Jesus is saying. And still, despite what Jesus showed them, he turned into dazzling white. They were so afraid. I mean, and Peter was so passionate. It's so good here, let's just stay here. Let's not leave here anymore. So Peter was passionate, having seen the glory of Jesus Christ. And yet, what happened after Jesus was arrested? Peter denied Jesus 3 times. He still lost heart, despite the fact that he has seen the glory of Jesus. Jesus has seen the glory of God, has seen heaven. It's like a demo of heaven. And yet, he lost heart during the Passion. And that's precisely what the Transfiguration is all about. What happened was, look, this is awaiting for you in heaven. Stand firm. Stand firm. What about you? What about me? Are we ready to stand firm? Are we ready? Or shall we lose heart in trials? If we can only keep our focus. So Jesus led the apostles to prepare them for His coming Passion. That is the reason why we have such a thing as Transfiguration. And you can understand it easily. Why? Remember, Peter, John, and James were broken people. They were not perfect. They were not perfect. Just as none of us is perfect. Except maybe one here. Anyway. Now, we're not perfect. We need to have a rather firm hope in something if you have to stand firm. What happens when we face trials and problems? We lose heart. Loss of job. Death in the family. Tornado. Some people lose heart. This is too much to bear. This is too much of trial. If God is all loving, how can He allow this to happen? How can He take my son? How can He take my parents? How can He take my siblings? But we don't understand. Jesus showed us Transfiguration account in the Bible so that despite all these trials, we will stand firm. We will keep our focus on Him. And that's what He did to the 3 apostles. Now, what happened? Peter denied Him 3 times. Only John and James stand firm. They stood firm. Especially John. James was also hiding. He was in hiding after Jesus was arrested. They were so afraid. Remember, for fear of the Jews, they would keep the doors locked. They were afraid of the Jews. Because the Jews can come in and arrest them all. Just like what they did to Jesus. But only John really stood by Jesus right on the cross. Only John understood what he saw on Mount Tabor. This is nothing. This is nothing. Please come. Go straight that way. This is nothing compared to what we have, what God has in store for us. Jesus says, in my house there are many mansions, right? There are many mansions waiting for you and for me. We just have to rely on that. Because if you don't, what will happen? You will lose hope. You know what happens when you lose hope? You despair. Don't you? When you lose hope, I told you, to despair is the most mischievous thing. I said that before. Because to lose hope is so mischievous, you lost hope and you don't trust God anymore. And that's a very sad thing to happen. That's why transfiguration took place. Now, let us see, what does it mean? You notice also something during the account of transfiguration. The book of Matthew says, whenever two or more gathered in His name, there He is in their midst. Two or more are gathered in His name. If you understand the Bible always requires witnesses. That's one thing that I was hoping to hear yesterday. Jesus needed witnesses. That's why He brought along those three. Whenever two or more are gathered in His name, there He is in their midst. Two or more. We have three witnesses. Do you know that in the Bible, it's not enough that one witness will testify? It's not enough. In the Bible, you have to have at least two or three to testify. So now, Jesus brought in three to testify. They will say, yes, we witnessed with our 2 eyes. We saw Him transfigured before us. See the point? So they were witnesses too. Jesus brought witnesses. Transfiguration. Now, if you look at Mark chapter 9, one of the things, towards the latter part of the gospel, Jesus says, tell no one. Make sure you tell no one about the transfiguration. We just said that He brought witnesses. But why did He say, don't tell anyone? That's for the other things. For the transfiguration, tell no one until I rise from the dead. That's what He said. Look at Mark chapter 9. What Jesus said was, tell no one until after I rise from the dead. You know why? Because after Jesus rose from the dead, that's His glorious body already. Did you know that? But because He's God, He's still able to eat. Jesus is the only one who rose from the dead and continued eating like normal human being. Although He could walk through walls. He could walk through walls, but He could still eat. Those two things alone. And then what happens? Yes, I have three witnesses. Peter, John, and James would say, yes, we saw. We saw with our 2 eyes. We were present on Mount Tabor when He was transfigured. So they were witnesses. And after Jesus rose from the dead, now everybody would see it. Now Peter, John, and James would strengthen that account by their witnessing to the people. What about Moses and Elijah? What have they got to do with this? You understand that Moses represented the law. He was given the Ten Commandments. Exodus 20. And then, I keep thinking of Ezekiel. No, it's Elijah. Elijah represented what? Prophets. So you have Elijah and Moses. The prophets. The law. That's why Moses is sometimes referred to as the lawgiver, because he was given the 2 tablets of the 10 Commandments. Now, even better, meaning you notice they were called apostles now. They're not called disciples anymore. Because close to Jesus' passion and death, they were called apostles. They've already been sent. They're no longer learning. They're no longer disciples. They're apostles. So many of the apostles witnessing cloud covered mountain. What does that mean? This transcendent truth. This hidden truth. This truth is hidden.